beautiful. Because, I mean, I was talking about it just yesterday with you guys when we were watching the female officer try and arrest a female abuser. And she could not get the handcuffs on. And the male officer was even like holding one arm and it was taking forever. So I was like, oh, it's like Christmas came early. And I mean, it's awful for these. I mean, okay, yeah, I feel bad for women in this way. The same as I would feel bad for children because they believe all this baloney about men and women are equal and I can do anything you can do, or I can do everything you can do, but I can do it better. Please. I don't understand what the deal is. I remember that show. I'm going to age myself again. I don't even remember when it was out because I didn't watch it, but it was a show called Alias, and it starred Jennifer Garner, Ben Affleck's ex-wife. It was like the first thing I really remember her in. I don't know what it was about. She was some kind of like agent, something, but she was like an action hero, right? So she's like, able to beat up the guys. And I think it must be that women have seen this in movies and television and think that we can just do that. We can't.
Well, that's very different than Disney. The most important thing about The Little Mermaid, is the concept of the immortal soul, the eternal soul, being with God. And to get there, you have to be willing to serve something outside yourself and suffer for it. This made The Little Mermaid a little different. I mean, that's enough said about the analysis of it. The fact that the idea of the eternal soul, the immortal soul, and God, the fact that that was completely removed from the Disney version. Do you need any more proof that we are being propagandized with every single thing that you see on a screen or hear, from a radio or from anything like that, any media? What a beautiful story. What a beautiful story. That's what love is. Sacrifice your legs. Sacrifice your tail, your whole family, live in that pain, sacrifice your voice. Then your sisters love you. They sacrifice their hair. That is what love is. That's what love is. And she resisted the temptation to serve herself and end the prince's life. She didn't do that. She could have ended the princesses too. She didn't do that. Imagine if you read that story to your little girl. Came out of necessity. I don't believe there is one single MGTOW man who wanted it to be that way. They didn't set out, when they were 8 years old and playing with their trucks or whatever they were doing, they didn't set out to think, what I'm going to do? I'm going to go live in a cabin in the woods and never speak to a woman and never... No 16-year-old, randy boy was thinking, sex isn't worth it. They weren't. These are men who've been hurt. And there's going to be a lot of women all of a sudden. But what about women? Well, what about they don't know? Right now, we are not talking about you. You have other issues, most of which I don't agree with. It's not about you right now, women. It's not. But here's the thing. If MGTOW came out of necessity, what necessitated it? We did. We did that. And whatever entity gave us the power to do that. We did that. And by we, I mean women. And by women, I mean feminism. It has advanced to the point where, if you want to look at it like it's I'm going to mess up the analogy, but if you want to look at it like it's a war analogy, feminism has advanced to such a state that men are retreating. That's how men think. They think logically. They think, this isn't working. There's no avenue. I have no way to fight back. I have no way to stand up for myself. I have absolutely no way. And just being out there puts me at risk. So I'm going to retreat unless and until conditions change. And I don't mean like there's one MGTOW guy and he's waiting in the cabin and he's like, have conditions changed yet? I mean, that guy, he's done. Like, he's not coming back. Generationally.
Remember that women like bad boys. Because they like the idea that the bad boy can protect them from something. A pretty boy, on the other hand, I mean, I must be real old, because I remember like the idea of a pretty boy was not something you really were looking for. It's very interesting. But it's also funny, like, okay, maybe she's being honest. She thinks she's being honest. But I look at her, I think she thinks she's saying something so intelligent, like groundbreaking. I'm like, basically all you're saying is that women can't discern. Be it that the guy looks very attractive, or he has a lot of money, or he says all the right things. That's the one that'll really get the women, is when he says all the things, right? That's why you can have a felon or a loser, but if he says all the things, well, he's great, and she can fix him, and he's a project. She's just admitting that women are terrible at discerning. And that's why our fathers used to choose our husbands for us, and dating didn't used to be a thing before, I don't know, the last part of the 20th century. But yeah, go on, wise ladies, share your wisdom and your honesty with us. If I started asking her, if I asked her one or two questions, she would crumble. There wouldn't be a whole lot of wisdom. Should avoid dating musicians for Houston Press in March 2016. Love said musicians will always love their music more than you and have a tendency to ignore you at their shows, leading people to assume you are a groupie. Well, how dare they not just announce that you're the one? Like, they're doing their job. They're performing. It's their show. That's their work. If you were to begin to date a musician, you have to accept that, just like any other job that a man gets. You don't freak out that he didn't completely change for you and make his whole life revolve around you. It's not the way it's supposed to be. A man is not supposed to revolve his whole life around a woman. Just not. Then he takes his eye off the goal. Whatever his goal is, whether it's, providing, being better, building, learning, growing. As soon as and I know a lot of you guys have noticed this. And that's why a lot of you guys have been like, MGTOW for life, best ever. Because as soon as you say, no more of this drama, no more of this, you have peace. Because you can never find peace when you're constantly trying to please a woman and structure your life around her like that. That doesn't work. He has to be able to do his job and do his thing and know that she supports that and trusts him. And if you can't do that as a woman, you're not going to ever be a wife. You might get married one day, but you're never going to be a wife.
International Men's Day. I didn't even know there was an International Men's Day until 2020. And most people don't know. The United Nations won't recognize it. Why? Because men are not, historically, it's hard to remember the BS. It's easier to remember truth than it is to remember the BS lines. Historically, whatever, whatever the word is, where y'all were persecuted, right? Men have never been persecuted? Never, no. They've never laid their lives down. They don't have way higher suicide rates and higher incarceration rates and higher work-related deaths. I mean, exponentially higher. No, men don't need a day. Let me tell you something. They need every day. Every damn day. Every damn day. We should be thanking the men in our lives that make this world go around. I feel really strongly about this. Every damn day. Every day. Your fathers, your brothers, your husbands, particularly your husbands, let them know you are appreciated. They do stuff, men do stuff all the time. Now I'm thinking on the micro level. Because I think my last one, International Men's Day, was more on the macro level about you guys creating Western civilization and creating the comforts that we have. I mean, I'm sitting in a temperature controlled room right now, looking into a camera with a light behind it and a microphone. I would go out on a limb if I had to bet who invented all this stuff. If I had to guess, I'm going to guess it was a dude. Just going to guess. If I had to put money on it, it was a guy. It was a guy.
It's just not. It's not a mother. Taking your kid to daycare constantly is not being a mother. Expecting school to teach them morality, not being a mother. I'll go a step farther. Taking them to church and they're in their little church group with the people their own age, coloring or whatever it is that they do in there, depending on the church. That's not mothering. Sure, it's a good thing to do. I hope they do that. But they need to hear about spirituality, religiousness, and God, all of that. They need to hear that from their parents. You don't get to outsource parenting. And that's all that seems to be done nowadays. And it leads back to feminism. Because feminists and feminism, it's feminism. Because feminism created feminists, not the other way around. So feminism has lured the women out of the house. Because she should have a job just like the guy. Why should he have all the fun? Because having a job is so much fun. They lured them out of the house. And in doing so, they changed the definition of what a mother is. And now everybody except the people who made the child are raising the child.